Hello everyone, Dennis Chang here. There's a typhoon going on right now in Okinawa. So here I am making YouTube videos for you guys. Today's topic, I've talked about this quite a lot of times, but here it is again from a different angle, I suppose. How I would go about learning jazz harmony if I were you. To learn jazz harmony in a practical way. Because it's one thing to study jazz harmony, quote unquote, in an academic way, which I have done. There's nothing wrong with that. That can certainly help you in a practical sense, but it's not a guarantee. Because there are a lot of people, and I was one of those, who did study it academically, but I couldn't play worth crap. And so what I want to share with you in this video is how to learn in such a way that it's going to actually directly help you in your playing. And when you study this way, it's not going to be at the academic level, but it's about absorbing it so that it's part of you, that you have this innate understanding of harmony by ear and by feeling. I talk a lot about this in my video. Please like, please subscribe. It makes such a huge difference. And I do have courses on SoundSlides that you can buy. I have this new course on DC Music School on the nature of dominant chords, so it's kind of related to this topic, explaining how dominant chords work historically, from a historical perspective in jazz music. And I also have a book on Amazon about connecting your ears, your body to your instrument, so that you see harmony and melody all as one. So if for example, if I were taking a song like Stella by Starlight, I can see this, I can see this, I can see maybe this, I can see this. See, that's a C minor chord. This is also a C minor chord. Oh, I'm making this all up on the spot because I see, it's like the movie The Matrix. I'm like Keanu Reeves. When you tell me a chord or a melody note, this note, let's say, and it's an E minor 7 flat 5, I can see this, I see this, I see this. See this, I see, oh my, I can see this, I can see a whole bunch of things, like all at once. It's crazy, but I'm running out of fingers. But just to see, like, it just lights up immediately. And how did I get to this point? That's what I'm going to share with you in this video. So check out the books and all that stuff. Now, if you're new to jazz and you're just starting out, maybe the books and the courses could be overkill. You can certainly buy to support me, but it might be a book that you're going to have to come back to every like 3 months or so, and you'll get something new out of it every time. It's good if you're a beginner. Okay, you can buy it now just to get an idea of what you're gonna be working on down the line. But if you're just starting out, the best thing you can do for yourself to learn how to play jazz guitar and to learn jazz harmony in a practical way, it's very simple. You got to learn songs. That's what a lot of players are not doing enough of. You got to learn the songs that are played in the repertoire. The more you know, the more you're going to get out of my book and out of these lessons. And that's exactly how I learned harmony in a practical way. Because in the beginning, I did learn from teachers who taught me all sorts of formulas and everything, and I gotta say I excelled at it, but I realized I couldn't play worth crap, because even though I excelled at it, or you could basically give me a chart and I could read very well, like the chords and everything, but I didn't learn anything about real music, about the aesthetics of music, about why I would choose one chord voicing and another. I learned this by learning songs and by playing the songs in an actual musical setting. And actually playing Gypsy jazz helped a lot, because in those days Gypsy jazz resources were very, very limited. So I had to learn basically through community and by ear, by listening to records and by watching, going to where there were good players, usually in France, and just observing the chord voices they would use. And from that I realized a lot of the chords or chord progressions that they would use for certain songs, like Out of Nowhere, for instance, or even I remember back in the day, What Is This Thing Called Love? What Is This Thing Called Love by Cole Porter. If you go to any jazz jam session nowadays, they tend to play like this: G minor 7/5, C minor, and some kind of F minor, usually F minor 7. This is kind of like very music school way. It's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But in the old days, they were just playing like this. Da, 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 da. So simple. And realizing this, like, it taught me something about aesthetics, about artistic choices, about playing in a style rather than just jazz as a general thing. Oh, jazz, okay, play major 7, play major 6. No, it goes far beyond that. It's trying to understand at a deeper level beyond the theory of what the aesthetics, the tendencies of playing in the 30s style, playing in the 40s style, 50s style. That's thanks to Gypsy Jazz and forcing me to learn on my own. Okay, but learn songs, learn about aesthetics, learn from find mentors to show you, to tell you, oh, don't do this on this song because we're trying to go for this aesthetic, whatever. If you can find a teacher like that, a mentor like that, that's one of the best education you'll ever get. Because I remember back in the day, I used to play my minor chords like this for Gypsy Jazz. All right, people would say, oh, Gypsy Jazz, okay, when you have a minor chord, play minor 6. And this is the first one that people learn. But then some Vavao Adler and another person, not famous, were the first to point out that actually in Gypsy Jazz, this is almost never used in the accompaniment. Or rather, as the one chord. I'm not saying it's never used, but it's not typical. This is kind of how would you say? There are not many people in the Gypsy community who play this. Django himself favored chords like this. And I was taught such things, such aesthetics by Vavao Adler. I know he was the first one to introduce me to this. And then getting to know Charlie Berger, but also, just different things. This got me on this journey to check out music a lot by ear rather than through books or things like that. Just really exploring the music history as a personal journey by ear, by going straight to the source, so to speak. Anyway, learn songs. That's what you got to do. Play them however you can as a beginner. If this is the chord you have to use it. Let's say you only know one position and you're playing a song like All the Things You Are. And this is actually in my book, my visualization book. You'll find the link in the description box, or maybe I'll put it in the pinned comment. But All the Things You Are, you can play like this. That's a lot of movement, of course. But if you're a beginner, that's all you know, that's good enough. But eventually, you want to learn different ways to play the same song. I remember when I used to take Gypsy Jazz guitar lessons with this guy from Paris who had moved to Montreal, and he only knew how to play rhythm. So he showed me songs like Minor Swing. He would show me 1 week, one way to play it, the next week another set of voicings, third week, up till a point where I could just mix and match. So for example, if we take a song like I Can't Give You Anything But Love, it could be as simple as this. I can't give you anything but love. Just G and D7. So maybe that's how I teach you to play it. Then when you get used to playing it that way, it's in your muscle memory, you can feel it, you can hear it. Maybe I show you this way. I can't give you anything but love. Now I put a B flat diminished, and I teach you, hey, B flat diminished is one of those movable shapes, so it can be C sharp diminished. So I can't give you anything but love. Then the next way I can show you, I can't give you anything but love. Maybe the following I show, I can't give you anything but love. Next week, I can't give you, etc., etc. Show you, expose you to all these different ways to play it. That's why it's so beneficial to learn songs and to find situations where you can play those songs on a regular basis. Because that's what all the jazz masters had in those days, in the 40s, 50s, 60s. I remember I had this conversation with Pat Martino. He was playing every single day, sometimes multiple sets a day. So that's a lot of review. You get to really solidify what you learned outside of the bandstand. Then after the gig, they would go check their peers out, like in West Montgomery, George Benson, then hang out at the hotel or wherever and just jam. Finding the opportunity to play said songs, learn songs, play them every day, and gradually increase your repertoire that way. What eventually happens when you do this is at one point you start to feel the music through instinct. It's very, very hard to describe. And if some of you have gone through this, maybe you can comment just to like, how do you say, back me up here, to say, yeah, I definitely get what you're saying, Dennis. It's this weird magical feeling. Once you get it, you'll understand what I mean. It goes beyond theory and all that stuff. I'm not knocking on theory or anything like that. That's great, but this instinct thing is the important. That's the stuff that's going to help you at the practical level. Because I remember when I was younger, one of my biggest weaknesses was hearing chord progressions, and that's solved by playing a lot of songs. I had this weekly thing, not twice a week, Wednesdays and Sunday nights at this cafe for a number of years. So that's what did it for me after a while. So already this is something you can do as a beginner. Learn to play songs, learn the chords, play along to records. You know, if you're into Joe Pass, it doesn't have to be gypsy jazz, right? It can be straight ahead jazz. You're West Montgomery or Joe Pass, whatever. Find a player that you like. It doesn't have to be a guitar player, and play along to the records. Let's say you're learning, There Will Never Be Another You. Put on a record, and then There Will Never Be Another. Use the chords that you know. Find a mentor to show you different chord voicings, different ways, different approaches, and expand your chord vocabulary that way. Learn basic shapes. That's what's going to do it for you. Or you can buy my book. All those basic shapes are in my book, my Amazon book. They're not complicated. You can find them anywhere actually, but you'll find them in that book. But once you get a grasp on this stuff, maybe after a year or maybe two of learning this way, of having learned quite a number of songs, playing accompaniment, comping, and all that stuff, now you might be ready to really get into the anatomy of harmony, and that's where the fun begins. It's all about voice leading and about seeing harmony at the cellular level, and also the big picture, the chord progressions, how basically a chord progression like G to D7 can end up being, how a chord progression like G to D7 can end up being like G, C9, B minor 7 flat 5, E7, A minor, and D7. It's all because of voice leading. I talk about this in my harmony course on DC Music School, also on Sound Slice, and I talk about this in the book as well. What you're going to start to do is you're going to start to explore the chord voicings that you know already, like this, G major 7. And you're going to try to find different possibilities. Instead of G major 7 like this, maybe you can add, play like this. Maybe you can play it like this. Let's say there's a bass player playing with G already. You can just do all sorts of different voicings. And you can start to play around with inner melodies. Let's say you have a G chord like this. So that's G, E, B, and D. And you know there's also a G chord like this, G, D. You can start to do A minor. So this A minor to D7. Here's A minor to D7. A minor, A minor, A minor, D7. And by doing things this way, it's going to take a while. You're going to start to build a deep connection with the harmony. And you're no longer thinking really about, well, maybe you are, but 2, 5, 1 thing, but instead you're seeing voices. You're going to see like an A minor chord. Let's say you play these 3 notes, A, C, E. It's no longer going to be a shape, but it's going to be 3 voices, and those 3 voices make up an A minor. And then let's say you have to get to D7. You can do a lot of things. Sorry, my guitar intonation is bad, but okay, you can do this, what I showed you. Or you can start to visualize. I'll put the root here. And G. Through voice leading. So here's A minor, D7, G. Finding little melodies inside the voices of the harmony. So that's how I went about learning harmony, starting with shapes that I knew, and then once I knew them well enough, I started to manipulate the little voices. And that's how Django Reinhardt came up with things like this. And remember, Django was musically illiterate. There's this song, What a Difference a Day Made. I use this example all the time in the key of G. He recorded this in the 40s. Look it up, Django Reinhardt, What a Difference a Day Made. At one point there's an A minor to D7 to G. And Django plays A minor, F, D. So where does that F come from? I'm going to show you. Let's take this shape here. A minor, so E, C, E, A. You guys see that's an A minor? Would you guys agree with me if we took this index finger and brought it up 2 frets to 9, 10, 9, 10? This is D9. It's F sharp minor 7 flat 5, but if you put a D bass, it's a D9 chord. Just believe me. But look, A minor, D7, A minor, and there's a hole in between. Django saw the hole. F, that's where the F comes from. So Django was someone who was deeply aware, despite being musically illiterate, he was very deeply aware of the inner voice leadings, the inner melodies. So I've been doing this for quite a long time, and it started that way by learning songs using basic shapes. At one point, because I've been doing so long, I kind of started to get bored, and I started to explore the tiny melodies inside, hidden inside the chord progressions. That's where you come up with all sorts of complex chord progressions. How back in the day, like I said, G to D7 was one of the most common chord progressions in early jazz, just 1 to 5. Eventually it became something like this to make it a little bit more complicated. Then it became, then see, G, C9, B minor, B flat 7, A minor, A flat 7, G, all through voice leading. And the more you do this, the faster your brain will be connected to the instrument, and you can just start to feel it rather than thinking, oh, I can do this. It's just going to be a feeling, so to speak. And you do this, if you check out my book, it talks about learning songs this way, about justifying every note. So if you learn a solo, let's say a solo, let's take a melody. I use this example a lot, like just this one. Just take that. That's ornithology, based on How High the Moon. Let me do an octave higher so you can see better. So it's over a G chord. You should be able to see. And then G minor. So C7. And when you land on this note, it's C7. You should also be able to see the arpeggio. That's what you gotta do. So positions, right? What's another one? Darn That Dream. So of course you learn the melody. But as I do this in the back of my head, anything. And it can be a solo, an improvisation of someone, but you should see how everything is relating to the harmony. So that's what I've been doing for a long time, and that's the way to develop this internal, intrinsic connection to the harmony and to the melodies. This is kind of like to get to the really advanced level. And this is what I think a lot of the best improvisers are able to do. For sure, because I've been with them. I see how their brain works sometimes, the way I talk to them when we're talking. Even those like Birelli Legren who knows no theory, sometimes I just play for, like there's a song that he doesn't know and I have to teach it to him, like when we're recording for DC Music School. I just, it goes like this. I just play for him and he understands right. Sometimes he can even predict where the harmony is going. So that's skill, and that's, I think, the most effective way to learn it. Let's recap. Use the chords you know. Like don't try to be advanced. Just use the chords that you know, however few that you know. Use them to learn to play a whole bunch of songs. Play those songs on a regular basis. You'll start to hear and feel chord progressions, and then you start to look at the tiny cells inside the voicings you know, and you're going to start to discover new things that way. That's pretty much the process. Easier said than done, but that's the basic blueprint. Start justifying every melody that you play, every single note, with the harmony. I use this example all the time as well. Let's say you take a song like All of Me. This is the melody. Okay, that's great. So you can see the chords. But then if you play the melody, you can also then see, you can play the arpeggio. What's the melody? Right? It's cool, huh? What's another melody? Some of These Days. Etc., etc. So I hope this was of some use to you. Please support me. Thank you very much.